It might be time for a pivot. How do you know if it's time to pivot? And if it is time to pivot, how do you know how to pivot? I want to talk about those things in just a brief teaching because I don't want to give you more work. You probably know what you need to do. I just want to help you frame perhaps how you think about it, how you go about it. What's not working in your world right now? It might be a relationship that's not working. It might be something related to work. What's never going to be the same? We live in a time where a lot of things have just shifted and are not going to go back. So I would offer you that probably something definitely needs to pivot. There is a pivot for you. Even if you are lucky enough to have your business insulated from all the changes that we've just seen from what we're still living through, hallelujah. Also, you still need to pivot. You still need to pivot moving forward because everyone else's lives has changed. And that's going to have a ripple effect on you. So we're going to talk about 5 things that you can do to evaluate your next pivot. But first, let's draw a distinction between a closed door and a hurdle. Because you might be coming up against something that other people are trying to tell you is a closed door. I've heard even in the faith community, people talk about saying, oh, well, God just closed that door. Maybe, but maybe it's time to go around the backside of the house and not abandon the whole mission entirely. Maybe you find the back door. Maybe it's an open window somewhere that needs to be revealed. You might not need to abandon the whole thing. You might just need to find another way. That I would call a hurdle that we're going to find our way over and through or around. A closed door would mean that God is redirecting you, that there's a different path entirely. And I'm convinced that when God has a new path, that God will make that clear. So I keep pivoting, I keep working the problem, finding new ways until a new path is clear. And then when the new path is clear, well, maybe that's more than a pivot. Maybe that's a leap in another direction. And only you will know. The people closest to you, even the most well-meaning, might think that it's time to abandon and go in a different direction, but you know in the core of your being, you know in your soul, is this a hurdle to jump over? Is this a modest pivot and I just have to find a new angle? Or is this a massive shift and I need to go in a new direction? Here are a few ways that you can discover what we're dealing with in terms of a minor or major pivot and how it is that you're going to go about making the change. The first thing you're going to do is to create space. Create some space because this is between you and the designer who's directing you. You're going to, yes, take in counsel from other people, but most importantly, create space for you to get clear, for you to listen, for you to get back to who you are. Because we need to change things all the time. We need to make adjustments and tweaks, but it never stops you from being you. You're on a mission. You have a calling. The mission is still going to carry forward, but you're going to find different methods to do the thing or to be you. For me, that's looked a number of different ways. At USC in the business school, I was a business communication major, and I learned a lot about writing for business and clarity and succinctness and how to communicate to that end. And then I went and worked at a massive church and learned from Rick Warren about how to communicate to those types of people and how to not assume that people know anything about spirituality, about the Bible, about those kinds of things. And I applied a lot of those lessons there. Then I took a stint following around a national speaker who spoke to large organizations in corporate America, then back to the church to teach and lead my own church, and now a massive shift to helping people grow using my communication abilities to teach and to write and to lead others, to coach, but in a different format. In a different way. Same mission, same calling, me still figuring out how to be the best version of me, but different methodologies. That's what you're looking for. Same calling, same mission, but we're going to pivot, we're going to shift, we're going to look for new angles, we're going to do things a little bit differently in new seasons and new times. We're not going to be afraid of making even some wholesale changes. I was just listening to Bob Goff and Don Miller. Both of these guys made huge changes in midlife. Don Miller was an author, and then he went into a marketing business, and he's doing exceptionally well and having tremendous influence in this whole other sphere, still using his communication ability, but now helping other businesses communicate their message through what he calls story brand. Bob Goff was a very successful attorney. One of my good buddies worked for his small office law firm. And then he made a massive shift and became a speaker and an author and helps people dream about their dreams and do their visions in his middle age. Same with Don. I'm having a shift at 40-ish, just turned 41. You might have a shift coming your way. It might be minor. It might be major. The only way that you're going to know is if you create space. If you create space to get alone with your thoughts, to get alone with your God, to be, to listen, to reflect, to study, to play, to read, to rejuvenate. The temptation will be to just rush ahead and do the thing and hustle and make it happen. That's my temptation. And there is certainly space, and there is certainly a time, and there is certainly a value in the hustle and in the grind, and it's necessary. But don't do it carelessly. Don't do it blindly. Don't do it without also taking time in the margins to create space, to be, to listen, to reflect, to get some of the distractions out of the way, and to remember that this is not all resting on your shoulders. There is a God who's bigger, who's leading, who's guiding, who's putting hurdles in your way so that you learn to jump higher, so that you can go further, so that you can get more creative and find new avenues. And in some cases, so you can take a massive shift and a massive pivot and go in a new direction. Same calling, same you. New method, new direction. So create space as you're figuring out if it's a pivot and what kind of pivot you're dealing with. The second thing to do is to look for signals. Look for signals. There are secrets about your future hidden in your past. If you can draw a line in your story arc, it might not be a straight line, but it'll get you part of the way there. It'll get you most of the way there. If you look back, all right, what has God deposited in my story that's telling me about what's to come? How has this story been unfolding and meandering and up and down? And is there a trajectory here that I should pay attention to? What's been happening? What's percolating? What are the convictions? What am I being drawn to? What kind of people are coming into my life? Who's been reaching out to me? Who hasn't? What kind of things am I reading and studying and finding really invigorating and exciting? Look for the signals. When Jesus was calling his early followers that would kind of turn the world upside down in a lot of ways and pass on to us the legacy of who this Jesus is and the things that he taught, he chose regular people. And when he chose regular people, they were doing regular things. But he didn't abandon those things entirely. Yes, they walked away from the work that they were doing, but they were still themselves. And so when Jesus called fishermen, he said, hey, come and follow me. I'll make you fishers of men. I'm going to leverage who you are, what you already know, what you already understand. I'm going to draw some parallels. We're going to have a trajectory that's going to make sense. There's going to be an arc that you're going to get. We're going to leverage that. Same with Peter being this big, strong. He too was a fisherman. We're going to leverage, Peter, your story, your journey. We're going to leverage the fact that you're larger than life and you continuously put your foot in your mouth and you're going to be a leader. You were kind of careless with your leadership back here, but it was there. It was latent, but it was there. We're going to leverage that. And Matthew, you're a tax collector. You're detail-oriented. You kind of use that for selfish gain back here, and we're a questionable character. We're going to turn that around. You're going to write down my longest, most thorough biography. And you're going to offer this just like Mark will and Luke will and John will, but in your own way. You're going to offer this to people, generations, thousands of years from now. They're going to depend on your writing. You're getting this right. You're seeing me. You're seeing Jesus through your lens. We're going to use that and the radical grace that you have understood. There are secrets about your future hidden in your past. Look for the signals. Look for what God might be doing here and now. Remember, it takes space. It takes some margin. It takes some space to breathe, learning to pay attention and not miss what's going on in here inside of you, not miss what's going on out there around you and the pieces that God might be lining up for you. So we're going to create space. We're going to look for signals. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to trust the process because it's hard. It's a grind. It's difficult. Anytime you start doing something new, there are obstacles, there are challenges. Hard things are hard for a reason. We become who we need to be on the other side by growing through the challenges, by pushing through the quitting points. It will be uncomfortable. A lot of people, even people close to you, won't get it. Some might even think you're a little bit crazy. Trust the process. If you think that this is what God is doing and how God has prepared you for this future, trust the process. Go with it. Trust, as we've talked about recently in previous podcasts, that God is going to provide for you daily, that the daily provision will come, that God isn't going to call you to something and give you a passion and a vision for something and hang you out to dry. There might be little pivots all along the way as we learn, as we figure it out, as we pay attention, as we look for signals, little pivots, learning, tweaking, going, moving. Trust the process. It's not going to happen quickly, and it will feel uncomfortable and difficult, sometimes like you're writing with your opposite hand. How do I even? But go with it. Push through. Make it work. Understand that there's something bigger going on here. Take the next step. Keep on going. You're not alone. Many have done this. Many are doing this alongside you. You just can't see them. Right now, we're figuring it out. We're finding our way. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's unpopular. See it through. Keep on going. Remember, we hear in part and we see in part, as the scripture says. And it's not until we're looking back that the pieces will make sense. So we just keep going, remembering that it's unpopular, that there will be followers that drop off. There might be friends that drop off. You might have less contraction before you have more. And that's just a part of this process. Keep going, stay the course, keep creating space, continue to look for the signals, trust the process. Number 4, take the leap. Take the leap. If there comes a time when you're holding on and you just think, I don't know if this is going to take some guts. This is going to take a leap of faith. Take the leap of faith. What have you had to lose? Some money? This is your life, your one life, your adventure. This is the story that you're going to tell your kids and your grandkids. This is the legacy, a legacy of faith and adventure and belief and wanting to embrace the mystery. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Of course, it's not going to go right all the time. Of course, you're going to go down a little bit before you go up. Of course, there's going to be more zigzagging and windy roads than you would prefer. You're going to get a little bit car sick because of all the windiness that's going on. And you press through and you take the leap. You take the jump. You are not going to see it all in advance. You are going to see it like a mosaic looking back. Why not? Why not take the leap of faith? You're not being careless, I hope, but you're having faith. You're counting the costs, you're paying attention, you're looking to the signals, you're creating space, you're listening, you're figuring out who you are, what's in front of you, what the opportunities are, what's required, how you can serve people in this time, in this way, in a different way. And then you jump, you leap, you go. And then the final thing you do is you embrace failure as fertilizer. There is no failure. You're just learning. You're just practicing. Your setbacks are just stepping stones on the way to where you're going. It might seem like motivational jargon that you've heard before, but that's because it's true. And we all need to hear it over and over again because it's hard. It's hard to do new things. It's difficult to wake up again tomorrow and keep doing the risky, difficult, unclear, not totally popular thing. But keep at it. Keep at it. Keep pressing. And when you come up against a hurdle, jump over it, find a pivot, a workaround, a new angle. Create the space so that you're hearing from your God, so that you're connecting to God in your soul, so that you're connecting your mind to your body, to your heart, to your soul, that you are healthy and paying attention, that you are looking for those subtle signs that God is placing and pointing and directing, trusting the process as you go step by step, taking the leap when it's time to take the leap, and then embracing failure. Learn, pivot again, shift, learn, apply the learning, treat the failure as fertilizer, and even more is going to grow now. There's no such thing as failure. If you're paying attention and learning, we just keep learning, we just keep growing, we just keep going, we pivot again, we find our way, and you will be a part of doing something significant with your life, something that's significant, something that is satisfying, something that aligns with who you have been made to be. But you will not just be happy when you get there. You got to find happiness, contentment, peace on the journey. That is the actual end game. You're going to pivot, but don't expect the payoff right away. And don't expect the payoff to be some kind of glorious arrival down the way. Find that sense of peace. Find that sense of connection. Find that sense of faith for the journey through. Day by day, moment by moment, staying connected. That's where you want to be. That's the peace that leads to the progress that you want to make with pivots all along the path.